Okay, if I can ask everybody, we're gonna start our meeting now. This is Parks and Rec Commission. And we're very pleased to see everybody here today and everybody on Zoom. That's great. I know that all the commissions, town councils, and finance, they all like to hear from you. So it's a good opportunity. We are gonna start with audience of citizens. We do have Rob Lemire here, who's gonna talk about disc golf, and he had signed up a while ago. So we're gonna allow him to do his presentation first. And then most of you here from the Community and Senior Center, will then get into that for audience citizens. So Rob, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
All right, thank you very much. Just in the wake of everybody's time period, I'm going to probably talk a little fast. So please.
You're also going to talk a little louder.
And I'll talk a little louder. So if anybody has any questions, please stop me, raise a hand, throw something at me, I'll stop. I want to answer as many questions as I can as we go through this, but also be as concise as we can. I actually live in Old Sabre, Connecticut. Give you a very, very short history of me and what I'm trying to do for disc golf in the state of Connecticut. I'm really trying to grow this sport, grow it in a really smart, proper way to enhance our recreational activities. I'm super passionate about keeping people off electronics, and that's from kids to retired people. And I'm really trying to get people to understand that disc golf can be as simple as a casual walk through the woods, throwing a piece of plastic, or it can get super competitive for kids to do something that they wouldn't normally think they could do, because disc golf is not age discriminatory, weight, power, height, or anything. I played with a guy this past week. He's about a good friend of mine. He's about this tall. He throws 150 feet farther than me. It's not about that. It's all about technique. So I was a Cub Master for 10 years. I dealt with a lot of Cub Scouts within my pack. Felt that they weren't the most agile kids, so they didn't play sports. They weren't into soccer, things like that. At Old Sabre, it's a very super. We won the state championship like 4 years in a row. Super competitive. I want kids to understand you don't have to necessarily gravitate towards group sports. You don't have to be the most agile person. You can get out there. Instead, what these kids do, especially with Cub Scouts, is you do sports or scouts. A lot of the scouts are on their devices before they play video games. And I'm super passionate about keeping kids out off of video games. And there's a balance. I know you can't. One thing I learned, I'm a father of 4. You can't parent the culture out of the kids, but you can influence them and find other avenues for recreational activities of them if they don't gravitate to certain ones. And disc golf has really offered my scouts at the time a great avenue and outlet to be out in the woods and doing something recreational instead of being in front of a screen. And it's a balancing act. So if you don't know what disc golf is just like ball golf, except most of the time it's in the woods, with the exception of Pistol Creek, which will be a little unique. And it's super awesome. But it's throwing a frisbee at these baskets. Par's the same, just like ball golf. You know, you can laugh at me. I call it ball golf. That's what we do. It's disc golf and ball golf. Just kind of differentiate it. But it's the second fastest growing sport in the United States. People are probably pretty familiar with pickleball, right? Pickleball is super popular. It's an easy sport to pick up. It doesn't require a crazy amount of agility. It's like kind of badminton and ping pong in one. Disc golf is very similar in that capacity. It's the second fastest growing sport in the United States. And it's because COVID really kind of sent it there. People are trying to find other avenues. And again, it's a sport you can do individually. It's a sport you can do as a group. So you can be as social as you want. We're trying to create programs with called the Masters Division. So retired individuals who are 50 and over. I'm 52. I'm in that Masters Division, but we have people that are playing up to 75. So it can be one of those opportunities where we can get our retired individuals, instead of watching Oprah during the day, we can get out and just take a walk and be in the woods and do something active, recreational, and a positive outlet. I've also done one of the things I'm also passionate about. My wife's a psychiatrist. I've gotten involved with disc golf from a rehabilitation side and addiction. She works at addiction. It's a great outlet for those people that are struggling with addiction, creating a positive outlet for them to keep their mind off of other things. So disc golf is really, it fulfills so many facets. And what some of the other residents that are here with me that live in town here, I have 3 of them. One of them works at the school systems. Toby, I forgot the exact position you have.
I'm a paraprofessional at the special ed department at Berlin High. and I'm also the unified sports coach and the unified leader. And we've already introduced disc golf in the gym classes. Doesn't matter their skill, doesn't matter their age, whatever. Every single child has been able to do it in their own way. And all of them just enjoy it because it gets them outside and it gets them active. There's a lot of things that these kids can't do. This is one thing that they can.
It's great. It just fills so many, blank spaces for people to create avenues and recreational activities for them. So anyway, these are just some of the numbers. We don't have to go through some of them. It's the second fastest growing sport. It's it's growing immensely. I want to make sure we're doing it in the right way and creating a positive outlets for a lot of our communities. I've set up programs. This is my most recent one I've done. So my history and kind of my rap sheet. I've built 3 courses so far for towns. I do it for free. This is something I'm passionate about. I have my own money into some of these courses because towns didn't have the funding capabilities for some of them. Again, because I'm passionate about it, I've raised money for some. I've done fundraising. The first one that I built, I had to raise about $16,000. I did that through sponsorships and creating tournaments, charity tournaments that we raised money for. I made sponsorship signs, a little artistic. So I created, you can do this image transfer process, get your family name and picture on a piece of wood and out in the course. It's kind of cool. Keep it there for 5 years. But like I said, I do these programs for towns. I've set it up through the rec department where I've had, some of our senior center there. We had a recreational day to learn what disc golf is. Come out here. I set up and designed a course so it's flat and level. You can walk around this course very easily and play 7 to 9 holes very easily. That was a picture of that. No problem. I'm also working towards developing this as a club sport in schools. Toby's also very passionate about this and would love to do this and within her school system. This is Old Saybrook. This is just one class. My son is the oldest here. He's the kid with the hat. There's the kid in the blue hat over here. He's 18. He's a senior. Plays every other sport. But this is his group of friends that he got playing, and they developed a club with the town of Old Saybrook. And I'm hoping that we can get other towns. We have 2 other towns that have relatively close disc golf courses, so they can start playing each other. And one of the things that warms my heart is some of these kids are like, wow, thank God you designed this course, built this course in our town, because you know what I'd be doing right now? I'd be going home and playing video games. Instead, I'm out with my friends, walking in the woods, throwing a piece of plastic. And they walk in like groups of 10, which is not the process and procedure for disc golf. You usually go in groups of 4, but they play super quick and they're good at it. So. Believe it or not, the world championship in his age division lives in Connecticut here. World champion. His name's Wyatt Mahoney. This is an older picture of him. He's 14 now or 15. 14 or 15. He's won a world championship. 1 or 2, I think. Also, he's 15 years old, and we have disc golfers in the state from his age up to 75, right? He is the #1 disc golfer by ranking in the state at 15 years old. So it goes to my point. It's not age discriminatory, weight, power, height. He was not big, and he's beaten the pants off of a lot of kids, not a lot of kids, a lot of adults. And we're talking adults that have been playing disc golf a long time. Some of the people I play with, some of the people in the state, I mean, this has been going on for 25 years. So it's been around a long time. There's been a few courses in the history. Wickham Park, if you know, in Manchester is one of the older ones. Cranberry Park, I think Jen had a slide of it earlier. But there's a lot of history in the state, and we're trying to grow the courses so we can have this opportunity for the residences of these towns. This is the basket. This is where you're trying to throw into and you want it to drop into the basket. There's a lot of different discs. Most disc golfers carry a bag of 20 to usually around 20 discs in a bag. And they all do different things. It's not like your clubs, you're using your 35 degree and your 45 degree wedge. There's a lot of different discs, and it's the flight characteristic. There's 4 numbers on a disc. It's the speed at which you need to throw it, the glide at which the disc has. Sometimes you don't want it to glide too far because it's an upshot. You want it to fall out of the sky. the turn, which is the antithesis of the natural flight pattern of the disc. So you can do these shapes. And every disc does something a little different depending on the speed at which you throw it. So there's a lot of opportunities, businesses like Suburban Cycle and Cutting Edge to sell discs. And a lot of towns are picking up to it. Just to give you an idea, one of the courses that opened up in the state in Moodus, if anybody knows what Moodus is, it's a very rural town. And the pharmacy was the lost and found pickup spot. So a lost and found, everybody writes their name on a disc because they're $10 to $25 for a disc. So when you lose it, you don't want to lose it. You want to get it back. You write your name on it and your number. They call it, have a drop box. This was at a pharmacy in the town of Moodus. And that pharmacy was, people would go there to find the disc, but it was also the lost, they started selling the discs there. So they're like, it's a great avenue. It's a pharmacy. They didn't do a crazy amount of business because it's a small town. They ended up selling about $1,000 worth of discs within 6 months, their first 6 months open. So it creates these other economic situations, as well as bringing people into the town and spending money. There's a lot of different businesses in Berlin, right? Pistol Creek, of which we're proposing it on, is a unique property that could potentially bring in a lot of people from other towns to come here and spend money for the town's tax base. Disc golfers, we like trees, but this is really a concept in Pistol Creek because it's open fairways. It's an old ball golf course. There's really no cutting of the trees out there. We're not proposing any cutting. It's really more underbrush, cleaning up some of the areas that are underbrush for some of the trees. So it's really an open concept on the ball golf course, which is already maintained. I believe Steve's on through Zoom here. Steve's title.
Superintendent of Parks and Grounds.
So Steve already mows 100% of what we're proposing. So there's really no cost to the town on this. From a cost standpoint, I think I have the.
Do you want me to answer that?
No. We have proposed costs, but as far as the maintenance side of things, there's really no cost for the maintenance side. Steve's already mowing out there. Most of the maintenance side is if trees come down during a storm, which he's going to maintain anyway. And let's say it's inadvertent. Most disc golfers are outdoorsy people. We're very conscientious of the environment for the most part, but there's bad apple everywhere where someone might drop a can or drop a piece of paper. Community. I carry a garbage bag with me that clips onto my disc golf bag, so everybody picks up after it, even if it's not. So it maintains its look and aesthetics, usually through the community.
From Jennifer's Suburban, with connection points to what.
Yeah, just pictures. Go ahead.
The her cell phone was never recovered. Those points included the connection, outlier, the defense, and
Keep going.
would be Jennifer's phone in the Suburban 2:56 in the afternoon.
So here's some of the closest courses. Southington, there's one called Panthorn in Southington, Wallingford called Loughbury. These are all public courses on town properties. Bristol, Killingworth. So these are some of the closest courses. This is where we are. There's really nothing around us here. So I kind of picked this area because I felt that Pistol Creek was a great, unique property. It offers a lot of options for like Toby, who I've known, ADA compliancy potentially because of the cart pass that we have out there. It's really easily accessible. It's relatively flat or easily accessible for any age. And having that very easy to walk. A lot of them are multi-use parks. So a lot of the questions I get from towns like, well, we've had other activities going on at the park with their hiking paths and things like that. This is common. Whenever I've gone in and designed a course and gotten involved in a course, the first and foremost thing that I am concerned with is safety. We're throwing pieces of plastic. Do not want pieces of plastic to come in contact with people. It's the number one thing that you design around. There's walking paths out there. We make sure through the way that we have shot shapes that the discs aren't going to come in contact with the car paths. And there's a lot of ways to do that through design. So just so you understand, safety is first and foremost. We don't want any accidents with that. These parks here, Wickham Park has been around since 2004. Wickham Park, if you're familiar, if you've ever walked out there, there's not a lot of walking paths. It's just open green space. and you don't necessarily know that you're walking through a fairway. You could be walking through a fairway, not even realize it out there walking. There's never been accidents at Wickham Park. Because what you do is you try to create from where you're throwing, you create a visual path. So when someone's on a tee box, you know, just like a ball golf course, that you don't see somebody playing in front of you, or somebody that's walking slowly or riding a bike fast that comes into your visual range. So you're not going to hit them with a ball or you're going to hit them with a disc. So again, it's really centered around safety. Can you just go back one more? I just want to mention a couple other projects. Cranberry Park, this is probably the #1 course in the state that's busiest with dog walkers. And I see that as a very similar situation of what we have at Pistol Creek. When you have a lot of people walking dogs on cart paths, like Cranberry does, and Cranberry, actually, you can't see people. It's a very old course, 1998. It's one of the oldest in the state. They've still had no issues. And I would consider some of their pathway or intersections, I would say, between dog walkers and disc golf are questionable in some areas, but they haven't had any of those issues because people are usually understanding that there are a lot of dog walkers out here. We need to be extra careful. So there hasn't been any issues because of that. The benefit, I bring that up because that's kind of worst case. Pistol Creek is a completely different animal. It's very open. Visual paths are very evident when you're on a tee pad of what we're looking at proposing.
If you're on Zoom, can you please mute yourself? I can do it when I leave this shared screen.
So this is just a map of the cart paths at Pistol Creek. That's okay. You can go to the next one. It's really the layout that I want to go on. This kind of shows the overlay. This is the potential layout of the course. So it creates this, the clubhouse is down over here. I don't know if you can see it. This is the parking lot for the clubhouse over here. You walk up the path to hole 1, but it has a short 9-hole loop and it's pretty much right off the cart path. So relatively close, within 100, 150 feet of the cart path. So fairly easy to walk, get around and play a quick 9 holes, depending on daylight savings or whatever your time constraint is. You can come up and loop around. And whether this is hole 7 or hole 8 or hole 17, hole 16, 17, and 18, it doesn't matter. As long as you have a 9-hole loop where you can play 7 holes and then play 16, 17, and 18 and go out. 9-hole loops are nice. It's not a need, it's a nice to have. But I like to have it in the design because sometimes there's a time constraint, especially when we're looking at schools and it's after school and there's daylight savings time. We want kids to be able to go out there and play after school if they have that club or if they have that potential to go out there and play for an hour. But it's basically using all the established and maintained fairways, with the exception of we might have some clearing of some underbrush. There might be some areas that are wet that we might have to create a small footbridge to get across. I don't know if anybody's been out there and hiked or walked out there. It's an old ball golf course. There are some soggy spots that might require a couple of planks as a footbridge just to get across some soggy spots. And some underbrush where we might potentially want to put a basket just so we have that proximity off the cart paths. The cost for this recreational activity is the best thing. It really doesn't cost much. Does anybody know what it costs to design, to build a baseball field? Any idea? It's like $250,000 for a baseball field. And how many people are you playing on a baseball field generally in a rec? How many kids on I don't follow baseball.
9 and 18.
Yeah, 18 kids. You might have 2 games a day, right? Maybe. So 26 kids or 36 kids you're dealing with on a course for a day. On a on a disc golf course, you can have 72 people at a time, potentially during a tournament, because you have 4 people per hole. So you can really put through a lot of people for relatively a small cost. It's generally about, depending on the course, this course I would propose it's probably about $20,000 to $25,000, somewhere around there, to have this recreational activity.
Can we ask questions?
Yeah, certainly.
Um,
I know I talk fast. I'm just trying to get through it. with people
we
here for the-
appreciate, I think everybody appreciates that. For the cost and tournaments that you, I mean, are you using Parks and Rec staff and budget? to do that,
For what?
for the cost of the baskets and et
So
cetera? Is
I-
that how it's,
So I've done it a variety of ways. Like I said, I've built 4 courses. One of the courses I raised all the money for, the Park and Rec gave me, Park and Rec, the first course that I built, they bought the baskets for $6,800. I raised the rest of the funds, put my own money into it because I was really passionate about it. And we raised the additional funds to build the course for, at the time, this is pre-COVID and pre-lumber prices.
yeah,
It was about
Right.
$20,000. It was actually about $16,000 to
Yeah.
do that. So we had to raise an additional, like, somewhere around $10,000. The 2 other courses I built were fully funded by the towns. It's much easier, quicker to do it that way if there are funds. But there are a lot of avenues, especially when you deal with towns like Berlin, or more populated areas that have businesses. We can do it through sponsorships.
and who runs this? Is it Parks and Rec in like Southington? Who runs in Southington? Do you know?
All the projects are done because it is a town property.
Okay,
They are all coordinated like this through a Park and Rec department,
Yeah.
if that's who's
Yeah.
responsible for it. Towns like Middletown, who I'm dealing with now, it's DPW. DPW is in control of whatever building components go into the Park and Rec only responsible for the activities that go into it.
gotcha.
Once the course is up and running, it's kind of coming, it's open to the public. It's like walking trails.
It's like walking trails.
Right,
There's
Um,
no administration of it.
Yeah, there's relatively no
Yeah, and like,
administration of
unless
it,
you're doing a tournament or
other
something
than,
like that.
other than, and that's why we have 3.
It's like walking.
We
you
have,
could play.
Yeah,
we
it's
have
not like.
Toby, I'm sorry, Toby, I can never pronounce your last name.
Schnei.
Shania, we have Steve Allen here and Chris. Yeah,
Okay,
Chris, I forgot your last name, because it's Thomas. Thomas, yeah, Chris Thomas, who all live in town here. So generally, the great thing about that is it's community driven, it's community run, it's community managed. They will be the liaisons and the ambassadors to this with Park and Rec.
sure.
So because you guys don't understand disc golf, there is a community to disc golf, people running tournaments and stuff. They are going to be ambassadors to coordinate through Park and Rec for any major activities. And if anybody wants to run something bigger with larger groups, it's an the etiquette is to contact the ambassador for the course. So the ambassador, of course, says, we don't have a Park and Rec activity going on at that point in time. It's a good time to have a group of 40 people out there. Or it's not good to have a group of 40
Right.
people out there because it's some of these courses like the one I recently built in Old Sabre. There's during sports season, it's not always opportune to have a large group out there when Little League is going on, right?
Right.
Because there's a lot of
We
other
have
things.
cross
like-
country.
Yeah, or cross country,
Right,
when there's a
cross-country,
tournament.
right.
It's very easy. Most of these, all these courses are visible for disc golfers or anybody that's looking through an app on their phone. It's called UDisc. At UDisc, which is controlled by the course ambassador, that could be one of these people in town that you're coordinating with. They can shut down a course. They can say the course is not available today. So if I live in Vernon and I want to go play Pistol Creek for the day, I look at this UDisc and I see, oh, it's closed today. They have an event. Or they show up that day, there's not an event, there's another course 20 minutes later, they go to somebody else. But we can do that through the community. There's a Facebook page. I can't remember how many people have on the Connecticut Disc Golf Facebook page. 7,000 people, and that's multi-states. So, usually we can get the word out when a course has got other activities that day, people pay attention to it. Of course, there's those certain people that don't, but it's easy to put a sign up. They're not playing that day, they can go to another course.
That's something that. the community
Commissioners, do you have
regularly-
any other questions?
No, it's pretty good. I was just gonna say that is a situation that the community regularly kind of deals with. So Wickham Park holds the state's national or the state's championship for cross country.
Yeah.
So they regularly have to deal with that and
Yeah.
coordinated all of
Yeah,
that.
great points.
One of the
Yeah, thank you.
highest traffic golf courses.
And a lot of these have other activities going on besides just passive hiking and passive, there's mountain biking trails, of course, in Norbrook. Like Steve said, they have the state's championship. My son ran it actually one year. State championship in Manchester, they shut it down. That's a private course, so it's a little easier to do it, opposed to a public course. But it's really done through the course ambassadors on the public side. Haven't seen any issues with the state.
Great.
Any other questions? I know saw some other hands come up.
So that comes up in audience of citizens unless they're part of your presentation. So I would like to limit, you can certainly ask a question during audience of citizens. You know, if you want to, and we can get the answer. So
So I have a question. So is this a nonprofit organization or is it just totally volunteers? How does it all work?
100% volunteers, but I am in the process of establishing, it's funny you asked that question, I'm in the process for Lord establishing a 501c in the state of Connecticut to really create a better avenue to accumulate funds for courses that are in need, for towns that are in need, to do more, to open up potentially more courses and support those courses. We have some courses in the state that if they don't have the community involvement, start to fall apart. So then we have a board of people, everybody's responsible for a certain thing. We can have that board and through that 501c organized to really support that course, either financially or the people and volunteers. We're accumulating equipment with a trailer so we can mobilize this equipment and people and volunteers through a 501c to go out and support the courses to get them up to speed.
So in terms of Berlin, right, so say this was approved and you were going to you envision tournaments and all these type of activities where someone's gonna pay to participate, similar to like a golf outing? Is that something you guys? would be
It's all
doing?
up to the town and Park and Rec and what you
So
guys
that would be our decision to make, not the individual ambassadors.
Absolutely. Everything has to be approved, just like if you have, your, I forgot what it's called there at Crystal Creek, the Conservation Center, is that its proper name?
Crystal Creek, you mean the building?
Crystal Creek, the building, yeah.
Yeah, we rent it out.
Yeah, you rent it out. So it has to be rented out, just like.
Somebody wants to do a 5K or a
That's
walk.
Someone wants to
Oh,
do,
that's what I'm
exactly, so if someone wants to run a tournament,
We would be
you
back.
have to fill out a piece of paperwork to schedule that through the town, so we do that all the
Yeah,
time.
that's
And
what
we-
I was going with my question.
Outside of a lot, we're talking tournament, so that's 72 people, where we have 4 people to T-pad, but could be a shotgun start, or the flex tournament, which can have 144 within the day, because it's flex times. Sometimes they run those, but that is run through the town. We make sure we have approvals from the town because, and that's why I said it's important to have the residents and the course ambassadors, because they're gonna coordinate through the town. Nothing can be really run at the large level, without having that support, or excuse me, the paperwork through the town.
And then the last question I have, around the dog park area there, I think I saw the drawing, how you plan to maneuver the frisbee or the toss, if you will.
Yep.
So any issues that you've had in the past with other dog centers and people getting injured or anything like that?
Yeah, so that is it's hard to see scale.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard to see scale, so you really gotta understand the way that this is fly. You know, if you're more familiar with ball golf, it's like your chip shot, right? You're not going if it's a 100-foot chip shot, you're not going 200 feet past the green. You might go 50
Understand.
in any direction, right? I certainly do. go in
Depends
any
who's playing.
direction. It depends who's playing, but you're generally not going 200 feet past. You can skull the ball, I understand. So as you look at that, it's not relative to scale. It's first and foremost, any design around safety. So when I look at approach shots from the lowest common denominator, we're looking at beginners that have a lot of power and no control, right? That's what I look at as lowest common denominator. A 17-year-old kid who has all the power in the world, zero control because he's going up 1,000% instead of going 50%. Always taken into consideration. So the dog park part of it, it's in close proximity on the plan. It looks like it really is from the approach shot.
I'm sorry, I did that one more, I didn't know. So the concrete, what's that for? Is that to put the post in for the actual?
Yeah, so the concrete cost is generally around the post for the signage and the baskets. The baskets are concreted with a sleeve in the ground. The sleeve is relatively about 3 inches off the ground, so there's a piece of metal sticking up about this far. And then you drop the basket in there and you lock the basket to the concrete sleeve. So you can't get anybody to just pull
So
the
that's-
basket out and seal it.
It sits above the sleeve.
A little bit, yep.
So I'm just thinking across country, right?
So not only that, forward.
Right, no.
Well, mowing is the main issue. Generally, we surround that with wood chips, so they see it. I haven't had any issues ever with towns mowing around
I
those.
think cross country, that's not where they're running.
And that's not what
Not
we're
on the
running, because it's not on the
The
face.
basket's still.
No, well, they run.
They can, you
run
can
on the
monitor
grass.
them. Yeah, but the great thing about having the sleeve is, let's say, cross country, you want to create a different path where they're running and the basket's there. Well, then we have to redesign around that. We can pull the basket out very easily, abandon the sleeve and take the sleeve out, and we can reposition the basket somewhere else. So it's easily done. The T pads that I would propose, for the course out there, would blend into the entire course very nicely, because I'm a proponent for turf T pads. So just like synthetic turf blends in with the grass, looks clean. So I would propose we build tee boxes out of lumber, so we frame it like a deck. Generally, slightly above the ground level is ideal, slightly above the ground level. So it's elevated for drainage capacity, so it doesn't get dirty and muddy and slippery. And we put the synthetic turf on top, which blends in naturally. Doesn't happen all the time, and it depends on the park and rec, because I work if they like big bright signs. I generally don't like big bright signs. I like things that blend into the environment. So when you're out there walking, you don't have this visual chaos or color chaos in the natural world. I like things that blend in. Turf out there would be an exceptional material to use.
Any other
Thank you.
questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank
Very
you.
nice.
Very informative,
Thanks.
and I've actually seen it play out west years ago, and I think Granby put one in at their golf course. They were one of the first in the state. Now, whether it's there still now, I don't know. It was years ago, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you very much. As with everything, we'll look at it, and over time, perhaps get back to it, but there can't be any final decision right now. We're going through budget season and things like that, but certainly something to consider, and it is great passive recreation. I've seen it play.
So the only thing I would say is I would thank you first and foremost. I wouldn't let budget be a blockade, of course, because it's such a little cost. Because of the 50C we're doing, because we have the people and developing a board, and I've raised funds before.
Yeah.
Don't let money, I wouldn't want money to be the issue from us moving forward.
Remember that, Mayor,
I
for our next discussion.
wouldn't want-
always in it. Personal and.
It is. You got to talk to Chip too.
I will say, it's much easier and quicker if we have town support financially.
Sure.
But I wouldn't let that restrict us from moving forward. You gotta get through a lot of departments.
Yeah.
I would love for it to be approved as a project. And so we can move through other departments in the town, so we can get through those, leave funding out of it, because much like the one I did in Old Saybrook, for instance, I pitched it 30 years. They're waiting for funding. I had the design done, everything done. I could have raised it. It's Old Saybrook.
I know,
A lot of
it can be slow.
we have a lot of commercial businesses. There was a lot of kids that missed out on the opportunity to have a disc golf course in town. I'd like to move quick, or just not have a lot of barriers for certain things. And finances, it's really not an issue. I've had the experience. We need to move forward, but having the approval for this so we can move to the next would be really key if you guys saw it as a potential great activity for the town, for your recreation. If you think it's a benefit out there to potentially an underutilized property. I've been out there several times. I know, talking to the 3 residents that I know that are disc golfers that go out there a lot. There's not an incredible usage and high volume of people out there. I think it's a great spot for disc golf out there that's going to fulfill a lot of age gaps in town.
All right, well, thank you very much for
Yeah.
coming in, and we do appreciate it. I think everybody probably got educated on it very well, so, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
It was great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Rob, I'll be in touch. Can you email me the names and addresses of the other 3 speakers?
Yeah,
Sure.
really.
Yep.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks.
Okay, I think most people may be here on the community and senior update, this is along with those on Zoom, and again, we appreciate you all coming. I'm Donna Bovee, I'm Chair of Parks and Rec, our commissioners around here at the table along with the Parks and Rec staff. Steve Wood is on Zoom. We have some people from other commissions that are here. And first and foremost, our mayor's here, Mayor Mark. Tim Grady from Director of Finance. Barbara Gombatz is over here. She's our Chair of Commission on Aging. Roger Moss is also a Commission on Aging. So Tim, is there anyone,
Raul.
Raul Fernandez from Board of Finance in the back? Don Delaquila, Commissioner Parker Rec. Tony, yeah,
Dreams.
thanks, Commissioner Parker Rec, Lucas Van Zed, and also Greg Starr, Commissioner, okay? I just want to give a brief update, thank you very much. As many of you know, and if you don't know, a couple of years back, the town council appointed a subcommittee made of different people from different commissions to study a design that was put together by an architect to meet the statement of needs at that point in time for Parks and Rec and for a community and senior center. In addition, we were to look at the Y2 as an option, and that subcommittee did it. There, a lot of good discussions back and forth. There was a report that was presented to the council, a year and a half ago, or maybe April of 22, with that information. At that time, and again, this is just based on the architect at that point, the cost was estimated to be 35.7 million. And of course, we all know there's inflation in there and, so maybe 40 million, but in the report, it presented all estimates up to 44 million if it got that high. It was a 70,000 square foot facility. It included meeting rooms, which would be used by both seniors more or less during the day, as well as the community during the night, much like the senior center is used here in town that we have, and the community center at the basement of the library that we have in town. It also included a kitchen, a multi-purpose room that could be subdivided to smaller areas. And the main reason for that is there are special events, especially at the senior center, that they run. They have lunches that they provide, but they also do special events. And those include meals and things like that. So that was a indoor walking track around an area that you look down into the downstairs. There were 2 floors, and it had a pool area. And that pool area went out towards the back. And although it had to be clarified, it included 2 pools, one being a competitive pool, which is more or less a flat pool, the size of most high school pools that they have in the area, in other towns. And included a diving well, which was part of the pool, and then a separate smaller water aerobics pool. And the reason why some towns
all
look
these
at
rooms
that
in the community
is
center,
because temperatures.
right? Because they use it in the senior center.
Competitive pool is a cooler temperature, maybe low 80s for lap swimmers. And then the water aerobics pool, which is a smaller pool, is a warmer temperature, maybe high 80s, which allows aerobic swim lessons for kids, things like that. So that was that current design. There was a design, kind of look like that. Council, read the report, thought about it, and in December, I believe, they asked that we, the Park and Rec Commission, along with the Commission on Aging, relook at our statement of needs that we had produced a couple of years back. Relook at it with the goal of reducing the overall cost. And so we were asked that in December. They hired a new architect, and he's a local architect. He's a very good architect, Brian Humes, that you might all know. He's done the work on the police department that's being completed. And so with that, we now have been working with Brian since January. And there's several meetings, and there are 5 people in that group. Debbie Dennis, our supervisor of Parks and Recreation Department, Jen Ochoa, who's community director of 4 different departments, including Parks and Rec. Barbara Gombatz, our commission, chair of Commission on Aging. and myself and Tina Doyle, who I don't see here tonight, but Tina is, she's on Zoom, is the senior director, or the director of the senior center. So the five of us have been meeting a couple hours at a time with Brian and going through our statement of need that we produced a couple of years ago. And he challenges us to confirm, do we need it or is it a want? And so, you know, we've met, we've now at this point gone through what our current community center rooms need is based on the programs that we run, along with the senior center. Yesterday, actually, we just completed the senior center portion to understand their needs and what they run. And part of this, which is a difficult part, is we want to look out 20 years because that's all right. It's a part of the program. It's like being in church. It's okay. Let's ride. So, but in any event, you know, we should look out 20 years or so to see what the future may involve, which is hard to do because, you know, we all don't know. No one can predict. However, what we do know is what other communities have done, and we visited those communities. Some we did back when we did our first subgroup. We visited those, and we've gone to, I think, one new one at this point. So that's what we've done. Next week, we'll start discussions on pool areas. I will tell you the overall cost before, and I think probably right now is pool area is the most expensive piece. And can be an easy target, could be. But we are working diligently, and our statement of needs will be one statement of need. And the best out of this whole process is that we still conclude that as a community, we could have one facility with the seniors using it most parts of the day, or younger parents using different parts, with enough programs going around, intergenerational, social, physical, as well as later in the day, teens, and then parents, working people, whatever. That's what you see other towns using their facilities for. Some other towns, and most in this area, their pools are in their indoor high school. So may not be with their senior and community center that maybe they've recently built. Those that don't have included a pool. I think there's one town in our area, I'll just say Cromwell, they do not have any pools in town. But all the others in our area, an indoor pool, and then a community and senior center. There are also the Y option, and the council will be looking at the Y option. And at some point later February, early March, they hope that the Y can come in and, you know, they'll be holding a meeting.
If they are gonna go to if you guys are interested, they're gonna go to the council meeting, our next council meeting, February 20th. The Y is gonna make a short presentation. And then the plan would be, as we get this plan done, and with the Y, we'll do another one at the senior center, like we did in, I think, November. We did one, talked about this. That's how we got to shrinking the program down. And so, yeah, there'll be plenty of
Okay,
time.
great, so that's consent, February 20th.
Yeah, that's for just an initial presentation kind of to the council. We have new council members, so they'll be, and you know, they'll take questions there. And we'll also have another one, March, April, you know, kind of, we'll
Right,
get it out there, information on any plan, whatever.
Right. The current plan, from what I understand, is Brian indicated that his report would take about, 4 months. So that would be like May 10th or thereabouts. I know, you may want to get it done earlier and all that. He'll know when he's ready, but it will certainly be done by May 10th, and I'm sure it will be presented, and maybe after, once that report's done, like you said, you bring both in to talk about.
And the good thing about Brian too is 40-year resident of Burlington.
Yeah.
So that's important, right?
Yeah.
He knows the community, he lives here too. So I think that was a great
Yeah.
choice that
Yeah.
and he's done, designs here in Burlington. So that's
In other.
yeah, many other towns. I mean, he's very experienced, but he's
Brian's a good guy.
yeah, he's great. So.
He, okay, so he will decide, based on our needs, he'll then take it and come up with square footage of the facility. And then he will estimate a cost based on square footage. There's no design at this point, and there won't be as part of his May 10th report. There'll be a list, there'll be a packet, it's getting thicker all the time, but it will have every room that we need. Why, what attributes of that room do we need? What do we want for a pool area? And by the way, I forgot, there is a gym included in the past one, we've vetted that as well, an indoor gym. I know many people play indoor pickleball, basketball, badminton's getting popular indoor and things like that. So that's another thing that is being vetted, okay? With that, I turn it over to the audience of citizens, and you can, I ask that you state your name, address, we have it on here, I'll just check it off. But we have to record that. And if there are a number of people, I'm gonna limit you, if I can, to like 3 minutes. And again, if you hear it being said, perhaps it's not a need, but you can certainly let us know that you agree with whatever that person said. Yay or nay or whatever, or any questions you have. I hope to make this a little more or less informative, and the mayor's here too, so Barbara Gombetz is here as well. So please, we can go back and forth a little bit, and then we can get on with our meeting after that, okay?
If you're in the back corner of the room, I do ask that you don't have to come all the way up here, but if you come closer to the tables by where Tony and Don are sitting, at least then everyone's able to hear you, and I may ask you to speak up just because the camera needs to make sure you catch everything.
Everybody can stay right here. All right, so I'm going to just go, Roger Moss.
Roger Moss, 80 Brandy Lane, Berlin, Connecticut, 20 some odd years, plus years. I have a background in recreation, 30 years in municipal government. So I had my share of public polls and know what they can and can't do. Now as a member of the Commission on Aging, I put together just a small handout to give to Park and Rec Commission. I know I don't have enough for everybody, but there's several articles on the benefits of pools for aging. And there's too many to mention, and these are kind of, there's a color copy that's on top of this. But pools and seniors can benefit a great deal, not only from socialization, physical activity. As she said, having an exercise pool or a therapeutic pool gives the people a rehab in water where they aren't dealing with the gravity effect on injuries, whether they're aged or young. I think a pool component is an important part. The other thing to think about is that we have an aging outdoor pool that, when the time comes to need to do major capital work, will it be replaced? One of the pools already is, well, the third pool is gone a long time ago, the Lions Pool, and then the other one at East Berlin, is going to turn into a splash pad possibly. But there are statistics that show without teaching children how to swim, the rate of drowning increases immensely. And if you look in urban settings and cities where they don't have a lot of swimming lessons, drowning rates are enormous. So there's that factor for the young. And if we don't teach the next generation how to swim, then we run into all kinds of other problems. Because there's plenty of streams, rivers, and water parks, ponds here in Berlin. So it's just, I think, an important component to the community center for a lot of reasons. And that article, that several articles that I put together, hopefully we'll give some input. That's all.
Thank you, Roger. Julie Erickson.
Hi, Julie Erickson, 85 Hickory Hill Road near
Just
Berlin.
because we have people on Zoom.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Julie Erickson, 85 Hickory Hill Road in Berlin, Connecticut. I'm so excited that I've lived here since 1997, and the community center at that time, not the senior center, the community center at that time just talked about. So I'm really excited that things seem to be moving in a very positive direction. I wasn't aware that there hadn't been some discussions with the Y yet. I thought there was. So a lot of my questions have to do with the management of the Y with our community senior center and how that would roll out. So I'm anxious to hear what the Y has to say on February 20th. I'm also curious to know if they've done this in any other municipality in the state of Connecticut, if there's other, towns and cities that the Y has actually managed. And I think that's what we're looking at, right? The Y managing.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be their facility, but in connection with the county. I
Okay,
mean, it'd be like a public-private partnership, and that's
Okay,
similar
okay.
to that.
so I'm curious
To
if they.
be worked out. too.
Yeah,
It's not all worked out.
Right, I'm curious if they do that and to get some feedback, if the Parks and Rec and the Commission on Aging, if they do propose, if they've done that already. That perhaps we look at if that's been successful or not, or what are some of the things that we might need to consider. If we're looking at the Y, and how that will all roll out. So a lot of my comments really have to do with this public-private partnership with the Y. And I vote for the pool. Thank you.
Okay, Steve Allen. One of the people, I think he might have been one of the people before. Barbara Gombats, and Barbara, if you want to stay right there, it's up to you.
I'll stay right here. I just want to mention that many years ago, we started to talk about a new senior center. It's very much needed, very much talked about. Well, the person at that time who was in Park and Rec came up with the idea that some towns are doing a combination senior center, community center, which seemed like a wonderful idea. So as we went forward and they talked about in our groups, visited all these other places, there's been a lot of talk about, the other towns having completed this, and they have wonderful facilities. And we started this way back, and there was different mayors at that time, but we're still talking about it. Everybody else, other towns have these facilities. And this facility would be such a benefit to Berlin because the little kids can learn to swim, as Roger said. They have swim and water aerobics for the people that want to during the morning, the older people that aren't working. And then in the afternoon, it would be the swim team. And then in the evening, we could open it to public swim. It's just a benefit for the whole town and for every age level. And I definitely want the pool. I think, I'm not a swimmer, but I think that's so important. And I think that's a health thing and it teaches the kids. And I think it's something that the town needs to have. Other towns can have this and we should have it. So I will be there on the 20th to hear the presentation from the Y. But I want to tell you that I know at the senior center, we want our own building and our own facility, and we want the town to be responsible for taking care of that. So we don't want to have to have a what would you call that? Person overseeing, right? Yeah. So I think that, I hope everybody will come to the 20th to hear the presentation for the Y. And I would like to, we've had a couple of presentations for the senior center, community center, but they were times where it wasn't that, people didn't really know that much. We're trying to get the word out now, so we know what we're trying to do and what a benefit this will be for the town for all ages. So I hope you will spread the word and please come. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Chris Doris?
That was.
No, that's okay. Crystal?
Hi. Right here?
As long as you're loud.
Am I loud?
I have her address.
Just name and address to.
All right, Crystal Via Border, 28 Glenbrook Road. I'm Mac. I'm here still always pushing for our parks. Happy that Little People's is getting better. It wasn't my grand plan. I was looking for, as we talked about other towns, having a place to fish and kids running around and maybe some basketball hoops and picnic tables, but we'll get into that. We'll keep talking about that. I would love that. Looking around, we see other towns have it, just like we were talking about with the community center. I wasn't going to speak tonight, so excuse me on my chicken scratch. What I was going to say was the importance of making our community better. And what do our community members want? An education budget, better parks, community center, senior center. my point being that we need to invest in our town. And why do we move to Berlin? Everybody I know who's moved to Berlin says they've come because of the school system. And I think we need to realize that how important it is keeping our paras and our budget where the school is important. And if you start taking away from that, it's not a good idea. Why do we stay? We stay because of our community. And so I think our citizens want our community to provide things. As we just mentioned, I mean, a lifespan, like the senior center, community center is amazing. I think it's a great idea. We have basketball hoops. The kids are bored in the winter. They need somewhere to go and something to do. There's basketball hoops. There's a pool. The seniors, I mean, they're retired. You need to keep everybody active and engaged. I think that's really important. So I hope our towns really do think of our budget and think of where they should spend it on things that I think would make our town amazing. The senior center, I said, we will all be there, hopefully, someday. So we need to make sure that we take care of our seniors. And again, she mentioned the surrounding towns. Why not us? Is what I would say. Do sports, not drugs. We need to get out and moving. And if these kids are bored and sitting home, I know. Let's be real, So anyway, I just need to speak up again. I'm glad I think I see some moms here tonight. I know some joined, and there is a huge following, but we're very busy, and there's babies and big kids, so they can't get here. But there's a lot of us. So if we need to do petitions or whatever we need to do, maybe we'll start. Just so you can see the numbers and not just the Facebook page, because
Thank you very much. The only comment is that years go by very quickly. You'll be a senior before you know it.
So let's get it going.
Cindy McKinnon.
Yeah, hi, Cindy McKinnon, 46 Deerfield Drive. I've been in Berlin on and off for about 30 years and was talking about a community center back when our kids were young, and we thought, great, we're gonna have some for the kids. And the community center we have now is great. They offer great services for us when we have meetings and all. But it's time now that we're getting to be seniors and the kids are all grown. It is a great thing to have for a town. And like you were saying, Berlin, why did you come for Berlin? So many great things in the last 10, 15 years. You can see the growth in the town. You can see the involvement of people. Having a community center is awesome. The seniors, certainly, I think the senior population has to be growing. And so they're outgrowing what they have now, and we would love the opportunity to allow them to have a terrific place to meet and have their activities, as well as the young people. And having a pool is awesome. I think even people who don't swim or don't use any of the other pools like the YMCA, I think if it was available in town, you would see use. You'd have more people would say, oh, gee, I'd love to have lessons for my kids. We'd love to go to Percival and have lessons for the kids when they were young. It was terrific. You always felt safe because you knew your kids could swim. The town offered a lot of classes. So that's something we really need. And our town is great. And I think it's just going to enhance our town. It's going to enhance how people look at our town. And we'll have more people moving here. Simply, it's not just because of the community center itself, but because we care to have a community center and a place for everybody to meet and grow. And that's what I think. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Dan Thurston, if you could.
Yeah.
Cam Thurston, 16 Conlon Way. Sorry, voice is a little scratchy. We had senior night this week for the swim team. I lived in Berlin on and off outside of college for 38 years as a youth growing up here, as a teacher in town, as a coach in town, and as a parent who intends to raise my kids in town. To echo what was brought up about why we come to Berlin, why we stay in Berlin. And we come to Berlin because it's got a reputation for the school system, for what's here. We stay here because of the community and because of the connections that we have. But we really want to make sure we're getting what other communities are. To echo what was brought up about the senior center, the senior population is growing in Berlin. The senior center currently does not fit the statement of need. And it's been very clear from conversations over the last 5 years through this process. And it's not going to change anytime soon as that population continues to grow. To echo what Donna said about looking forward, not only 20 years, but 50 years in the future. Right now, we have quote unquote, a pool in Berlin. We have a pool at Percival Pool that is accessible 6 to 8 weeks in the summer during the year. And I say accessible loosely because there are populations in town that cannot access that pool, where accessibility is an issue. Okay, East Berlin Pool has had issues over the last few years. It's likely not going to be around anymore. And Percival has been open for 57 years. It cannot possibly be far behind. So looking 20 years in the future, it's hard to predict what's coming, but it's hard to envision a future where 20 years from now, Percival Pool is sufficient as a pool for the town of Berlin. With this project, there is a huge opportunity. And I know we all joked about cost with the disc golf presentation, but I think it's short-sighted to let cost be the only part of the conversation. It's important. It is an important part of the conversation, and I'm glad we're having conversations with an architect to look at how to match the need to a price point and to move forward. But we have an opportunity to take a situation where our 2 pools in town are starting to fade and replace them or update them with an indoor facility that serves the population, not only for those 6 to 8 weeks in the summer, but all year round, and not only for the next 5 to 10 years, but if we do it right, for the next 30 to 50 years. Percival's been around for 57 years. It is not hard to imagine that we could build a facility that could serve the town for that period of time. So as the commission starts to look at this, I'd stress thinking about this as a project that is going to service the town for the next 50 years, not just the next couple of tax cycles and budget cycles. As far as the pool area goes, I think it's important to keep in mind that we need it to serve the population. It's easy to continue to nickel and dime. It is an expensive part of the project, okay? And it's easy to target pieces of it. But if you start cutting from that, you're going to end up with some facilities that we have around here. We talk about Cromwell, who does not have a pool. There is a pool in Cromwell. It's in Champion Skating Center. We have had years where the swim teams at Berlin High School have had to go there for certain periods of time. There are no lines on the bottom of the pool. You have to put towels on the end of the pool so you don't hit each other. It is not long enough. It is kept at not a temperature that's not good for training. It really does not service the population. We have towns and local communities who have a 4-lane pool or a 5-lane pool, which makes it useful for a much smaller group of the population, or who only have a pool that is 3 to 4 feet deep all the way long. I would stress to the commission that looking at making sure that we're servicing the senior population, the youth population who is looking at swim lessons, and the competitive side of it can lead us to something that's more useful for a larger group of the population, and to look forward. To use the Rocky Hill model at Rocky Hill High School. Rocky Hill High School uses their pool in the mornings for lap swim before school. They use it during school for swim lessons, for activities. They use it for swim practice in the afternoon. And then they open it up again for swim lessons and for open swim in the evening. I envision that's something that this could be for our town. And then the last thing I wanted to throw in there is that a diving board is something that is an easy target for a want versus a need. Okay, but if you look at pools in the area, including a diving board in that design and being forward thinking about the use of the diving board and meeting the specs for the diving board really does open up what it can be used for.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Hi, Sam Lamaglio, 78 Hickory Hill. I've lived in this town for a long time, served on the Board of Finance.
Sam, you have to speak up.
I served on the Board of Finance a few years back, and I also served on the Board of Finance in the 90s. I'm looking at it as a different approach here. When we were on the Board of Finance in the 90s, we expanded the school systems. We expanded Boulder, McGee, and et cetera. And we worked closely with the mayors. And I believe in the word gravitas. The mayors at the time didn't have a council, they had an executive board, but they had gravitas. We got together with the Board of Finance, the Board of Education issued a statement of need, and the Board of Finance with the mayor and the other two executive board members, we decided that we were gonna put a price tag on every project and every school system. So for example, Willard, I don't remember the number, but hypothetically say 6 million. We went to the building commission, told the building commission at the time, we only are interested in spending $6 million for this project. They would go back to the Board of Education and said, this project's gotta stay 6 million or under agreement. So I think this is how this should play out too. I don't know if the council and the Board of Finance got together and decided on a number on what they're gonna spend. It could be 0 to 50 or nothing. But in order to give the public, in order to really give an opportunity for the Park and Rec and for the senior center, you gotta give them a number. You've gotta say, listen, the council and the Board of Finance is interested in spending 40 million, 30 million, or whatever. And that's where the gravitas comes in. You gotta take a position. You can't just say, draw up some plans, and then we get together and then we'll figure it out if we could spend it. That's a waste of time. I said it 3 years ago when I ran for mayor, that commission that was set up, that was a waste of time. Because you got together, but you don't know what the dollar amount with the Board of Finance or the council was. And when I was in the Board of Finance a few years back, I alone, as chairman, said I would contemplate spending 40, 45 million, because I've always thought the community center and the senior center was an asset. And back then, when I served in the 90s, we said we couldn't do the community center because we had to do schools. Then we couldn't do the community center because we had to do the high school. Then we couldn't do the community center because we had to do the police station, which failed a referendum. We're always kicking the ball down the road, but we're not making a commitment. So I'm asking the council, Board of Finance, come up with a number, stick to that position, tell the commissions, this is what we want to spend. Then the commission could come together and say, well, we've got 40 million, $30 million to spend. Make a plan towards that, give it to the park, give it to the building commission, because that's how it was done years ago. Maybe I show my age, maybe I am gonna be a senior about 4 or 5 days from now. Maybe I show my.
More.
I like to think it was gonna be my next birthday, but maybe I believe in the old way of doing things, how to run government. That it should run through the public building commission, give them a dollar amount. And then everybody gets together and decided, then you put it up to referendum, and if the people decide no, then it's no. But I would like to see what the Board of Finance and the council come up with a number and not put all the burden on the commission. Say, well, draw up a plan and then we'll figure it out. No, give us a number and then you can build a project towards a number. You know, I do projects every day. I have a budget. I tell my staff, I want to renovate a building. I want to spend 300,000, 400,000. That's it. Give me a plan for 400,000 and then we move forward. And I think the town should run that way too. Thank you. I love the safer, but I have to wait longer.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Sam. Okay. Okay, that's all I have written. Is there anyone, okay, that would like to speak? Tim Thurston.
We have some on Zoom as well.
I'm sorry?
We have some on Zoom as well.
Yeah, I'll just do.
Yeah, we'll do in
inside
person
here
and then
then
anyone
we'll
on Zoom
turn
will go in
to-
order.
Yeah.
Tim Thurston, 100 Sawmill Drive. I want to ask here if there's any chance that you could put that up on the computer.
Yours?
Yeah, if you
No.
can, you can't.
No.
All right,
Emailed it.
I will. I'll email it to everybody. Tim Thurston, 100 Sawmill Drive. I've been living in Berlin for 40 years. I've been on and off with community centers, and everything for over 30 years. First point I was gonna make, Sam left. Sam put it very well. For years, when we're looking and saying, let's put a facility and then figure out what it's gonna cost. Well, maybe we should turn around. Mayor Mark said at the last meeting, senior center. I was saying, why don't we just put out the referendum? And he said, I don't think you'd like it. And I said, that's okay. Let's turn it around and say, let's figure out a dollar figure that we can and put it out to referendum. And then, like you said, go to the different parts and say, you have 25 million, 30 million. Made me think about it. There are a few concerns I have. about going out back to the statement of needs. Like Dan Thurston said, please look 20 years down the road, 50 years down the road. Please don't be looking penny wise. Statement of needs is exactly that. It's needs for the future of the town. All right, and if we start taking something, we take the pool out of it, saying we're just gonna do the senior center, and et cetera. In the long run, 10 years, 20 years down the road, we're gonna be in the same room going over the whole thing. Okay, so the statement of needs, we need a statement. The other thing I have to ask 2 questions. One is who determines, say, like a pool? How does the architect decide what is needed for a pool?
But just to be clear, the architect's not gonna decide. He's talking to the 5 of us that represent the 2 commissions and the staff about what the needs are.
Yep.
And he'll challenge us and say, support that need.
Do you
So,
bring any?
Support that need, then he will take that information and turn it into a format that we're now gonna present to the council, which will be the new statement of need.
And
It's
Mr.
not
Thurston,
gonna-
we're also doing research on what needs are for certain things like a competitive pool. Your son has been actually extremely helpful with that. Giving us spec, certain things that we don't think about.
I will. I will. All right, I kind of, because we've been talking,
Let's move it. Is it supposed to move? Okay, yeah.
All right.
Wallingford.
I did some research. I grew up in Wallingford. And I talked to Sean Doherty, he's in charge of the Wallingford YMCA. Now they have 2, they have an east side and they have a west side. But they're at the seams right now. They need to, they have a 4-lane swimming pool that I swam when I was 5 years old. They redone the pool and everything else. Now they're actually in the middle of getting donations and getting money and grants and monies from companies in they're up to about $5.5 to $6 million, towards the building of this building. And like I said, I wish I could show it to you. It's basically right now there's a building about 26,000 square feet. What they're going to build, what they're in the middle of building is a 25,500 square foot aquatic center. Okay, their cost in pre-COVID was like $5.5 to $6 million for the pool itself. All right, this is where I'm saying we need to look at money. Right now, they're talking about 11.5 to 12 million for the aquatic center. What it has everything that the swimming, the high school, young kids need, an 8-lane pool. It has a 3-lane warm water therapeutic pool for the families. And it has a splash pad to entice the kids to come in. And he was telling me right now, they desperately need, they're actually renting space from Rosemary Hall, their pool. All right. I ask anybody that's involved in this whole thing, go talk to Sean Doherty at Wallingford, see the plans. It's really, when I saw the plans, I looked at what we had before. Okay, what the architect brought up. Do we need 70,000 square feet? No. I was asking, what's your square foot? What does it cost you per square foot? Because I was saying, you got a 70,000 one that costs 35 or 40 or whatever it was. He said it's about 500 square feet or $500 square foot for the pool. Like you were saying, the pool is the most expensive part of it. So they're talking $12.5 million for this aquatic center, and that includes a retractable roof on the top, which you can cut $1.5 million off by just doing that. So you have 11 million here, and then you have 26,000 square feet. Right now they have gyms, they have basketball courts, they have a running track, they have everything in 26,000 square foot. My thing was, if you can take 51,000 square feet like they have, all right, it would cost, he was saying about 25 million. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Give us a
1 minute
figure.
left.
Go ahead.
No, 1 minute left. I'm trying to keep us on track.
I agree. I'm all right. So I said, statement of need, let's do it once and do it right. That's it.
Sorry, Mr. Thurston, just trying to.
Oh.
I gave you 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Thurston.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Karen Hinkselt, I live at Three Watch Hill. I remember when I was back in, high school, there was talks about, the community center. And now fast forward, I have a 3-year-old and we still don't have things outdated, we still don't have a pool. I'm on the Berlin Moms Facebook page, a lot of us talk about swimming lessons, that's like always up there, like, where are you bringing your child? We're going to Go Y, we're going to Goldfish, we're going to all these places outside of town. And meeting all these lovely families outside of town versus if we had a facility in town, we could do the lessons, we could build community. I think that's what we're lacking in town, like I'm a proud Berlin resident, but there aren't a lot of services or programs that help to build our community and strengthen those family relations or the senior relations. So I think, we really need to look at mental health and we really need to look at what our families are needing. And I feel like we can make our families stronger if we're looking at comprehensive services. And I'm all for being like frugally responsible and really looking. I think plausibility, having plans that, not just one option, but maybe several different options and looking and saying, what do we really need? I loved hearing the needs versus wants. I think that's an awesome way to look at things. I also really think it's awesome what we're doing with our library. For folks who don't know, they sent out a needs assessment. It was a Google form. I completed it, a lot of other families completed it, and the direction that they're going is fantastic. I just did goats and pajamas with my daughter last weekend, a little off topic, but they're engaging families, they're bringing people in. How do we get our community center to get that level of positivity, enthusiasm, and a senior center? I mean, I think we should all come together. It's great to hear this dialogue tonight. People being excited, people having a lot of great ideas. I just think we need more voices and people coming constructively to say, this is what we need. Because I think that sometimes it's really easy to be like, this is our set way of doing things. So I really encourage the committee to take a look and see about looking for the people that are enthusiastic. How do we make a difference in our community and really get to know people's strengths and talents? When I came here, I'll be honest, disc golf, I didn't know what it was. I'm awful with a Frisbee. I have no interest, but sitting there, I want that in the community because I'm never gonna play it, but I hear about the special ed, like aspect of kids, like disabilities, the seniors. So I came here, I was curious about what is disc golf. I thought it was a waste of time, but I'm gonna tell you, that's a great phenomenon. Like, I just think it's a great program. So I'm encouraging our community to be curious, learn a little bit, ask questions, and let's support each other and get this done.
Thank you. You got her name and address, right? Okay. Anyone else would like to speak?
Sure.
That's physically here. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Jean Hughes, 34 Chatham Road. Speaking of the senior, I go every twice a week to Plainville to do a water aerobics class.
Yes.
And I would love to support Berlin doing that rather than going to Plainville. And I think that's the single most reason that I'm so mobile. Honestly,
And
I
that's at the
think for
Plainville Y,
seniors
right?
and the
Go.
water aerobics was the best thing ever. I love going, I've made friends there. It's a wonderful program. Also, I have 2 grandsons that have swam through Berlin High School. And I gotta tell you, it would be great if they could have a home game in their home. And not have to go to a different school and have their home. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Get your name one more time.
Her name,
Jean Hughes.
Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry.
34 Chatham.
Yes.
Anyone else in person?
Anyone else?
Go ahead.
Yes.
My name is Christine Cooknell, 34 Chatham Road. First of all, thank you to everyone that has worked on this project thus far. It sounds like you've put in a lot of time and effort, and that's truly appreciated. We are a swim family. We have lived in town for 25 years. My husband a lot longer than that. And we are raising 4 children here. We have experienced swim through lessons, through competitive swim, through exercise classes, through swimming laps at a gym. None of that has happened in Berlin. And we live in Berlin, we work in Berlin. We want our children and our children's friends and our friends and families to all be able to support and enjoy all of those things in town. And thank you again to everyone that has taken the time so far and for the time that you're going to continue to put in. We hope to be more involved in that as well. and just to, you know, appreciate the benefits of swim and having it. in our town.
Thank you. Anyone else here that would like to speak?
I just want to say one.
Sure, Mayor, yeah.
Just, all I ask is still, we still have, yeah. All I ask is we still have a lot of discussion left and time to do this. Yeah.
Can you say your name?
You know.
Yeah, Aaron, I'll speak about it. So all I ask is, please, everybody, listen to facts, okay? So hence, this presentation is great. We're gonna have the Y come to the council meeting. That's not the last time you'll hear from them. That's the last time we'll hear about this plan. So we have still a lot of work to do. We're gonna do it. Obviously, we've all, you know, lived in town most of my life, and before I was involved in any of this, yeah, I mean, 30 years went by, nothing got done, right? It's never got done. So I think we're a lot closer to getting something done than we've ever been. I think we will get something done. What it will look like, I don't think any of us know yet. There's still, you know, we have options. So just make it to as many presentations as you can. Listen to the facts, because I hear a lot of, you know, misinformation out there. That's just not correct. And let's all deal with the same facts. And then I think we can make a valid decision. You know, the community at large, not just the mayor, not the council, it's everybody's involved in this. So that's what I ask you to do. Listen, keep an open mind for whatever comes down the way as we're talking about this. And then we could come up with a way, I think that helps. Again, we can only help as many people as we can, you know, we try and do everything for the benefit of the whole community. And, you know, that's what we're gonna try and do with this scenario. Thank you.
And just to echo that, facts are very important.
Yes.
And I always say success is in the details and knowing the facts. So I think listening to everybody here, and we'll listen to those on Zoom, this is good for all people to hear, commissioners as well as elected officials. And you know, this is what we can do. This is what the cost is. There may have to be some compromise on both ends. The Y option may be something else to consider as well. That being said, the one thing that I did want to make a comment, someone mentioned fitness center. At the current community center, we have a small area with some basic machines. People can come in at any point in time during the day and use that. In this proposal, it would be the same size. We're not looking to enlarge it. We don't want to compete with local businesses in town. And to us, that's one thing that's very important. We also people brought up about going out of town. There's a lot of people in Berlin that go out of town for various things. We thought about how do we get that number? Can we do a survey? We actually thought about it a couple of years ago, but it was decided not to do it. So then we got this project in a short time. We can't do a survey, but the library did a very good survey, but it did take time. They had 480 responses and very well done. I wish we had the time to do that. That's why it's important for you to come out, say what you feel. If you know, I know petitions and all that, that's another avenue, you know, and it will eventually go to referendum at some point with whatever is done. What else I want to say?
The people on Zoom that want to speak.
Okay, so with that, now we're going on Zoom. Can you?
Okay, so the person who is titled BHS Men's Swimming. You need to unmute. There you go.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shoham Patel. I'm a student and swimmer at Berlin High School, and I'm here with the BHS Men's Swim and Dive team. To start, I want to
state your address too, please.
58 Meadow Lane, Berlin, Connecticut. To start out, I want to thank you guys for all taking the time out of your day to be here tonight. There are really countless reasons of why we'd love to have our own pool here in Berlin. To begin, I'd like to mention travel time and travel problems. I mean, the YMCA being in Meriden, it takes us 20 minutes to go, 20 minutes to come back. And really, we don't really want to go through the hassle of traveling to another town. And also, the swim and dive season is during the heart of winter, and weather is obviously a factor. So many times we're forced to cancel practice just because we can't get a ride through the bus company to the YMCA. And then again, there's also problems with the YMCA, like sharing a pool with people of Meriden at the YMCA, them closing due to weather, and really having a pool right in town would reduce these factors. To add, I want to also talk about hosting meets. I mean, this season we've had to use 3 different pools for our home meets, and really the whole team, it doesn't really seem like a home to us. And to leave you all tonight, I would like to say one last thing. I take pride in this team, and I've seen firsthand the work, the time, and effort that these guys put in every day during practice and during meets. And with that being said, I want to have a proper place where this team could call home. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kylie, did you want to speak?
Hi. Hi, yes, my name is Kylie Stiefel. I live at 103 South Slope Drive in Berlin, Connecticut. I am the admin of the Moms Berlin page that has grown substantially in the last 2 years. I think mostly what I hear from moms on the page is that, you know, they want somewhere they can kind of have a birthday party event. So something with a community center that could host something like that. Of course, a pool, you know, usually comes with that territory. And I know other moms talk about bringing their older kids somewhere. So like a study space, somewhere they could do that, which I know the library just recently started doing that. And I think that's from the survey that they did that I know Karen was just talking about as well, which got some good feedback. So I don't know if that would be something that the Parks and Rec would want to kind of send out in the community. I'd be happy to share it so that you could get, you know, we could, and then share it with you after we would get the survey back to get feedback from that. So sorry, my kids are in the background here. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else on Zoom that would like to speak?
I would. It's Tina Doyle, 103 Fairview Drive. Not only am I the director of the senior center,
Tina,
but I am
speak up a
also a
little.
lifelong resident of Berlin. Okay, can you hear me
Tina,
now?
speak up.
I'm trying to. I'm feeling
Okay.
a little under the weather, so I'm doing the best I can. Again, Tina Doyle. I am the director of the senior center, but most importantly, I am a resident of Berlin and a senior citizen. And I just want to remind the community, the community is aging. That population is growing fast. And we need to honor those people that have built up this community, have volunteered their time, have had businesses, have been paying taxes for years. We need to listen to their voice and if possible, work together to see this to fruition. It's sad. I was just saying to my husband, I had more than we do now. I lived at Percival Pool.
You're breaking up. We can't understand you.
I lived at Percival Pool as a kid. Okay. I also, the community center was the old KGS. There was a basketball court in there. There was so much more than we have now. So I'm just saying that I just hope that we work together to try and get this to fruition, because I think it would be perfect for the community. We need to come together as a community from birth to death, you know, so I'm hoping that that is some. Thank you.
Thanks, Tina.
Thanks, Tina.
Anyone else online that would like to speak?
Yes, I would like to speak if possible.
Okay, as long as you speak up, please.
Sure. This is Wendy Contagoras from 901 Worthington Ridge.
Do me a favor, when you're done speaking, just throw your last name and address into the chat for me.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
I am the first message in there. I just wanted to follow up because my question was to see if a mom from the Moms of Berlin Facebook page could actually assist you with that team of people from the town that are working and being questioned from the YMCA and whoever else you're working with, because I think that they may be able to help from the age of the birth. to the age of the deaf because we are in the sandwich generation and we are working with our children and our parents and trying to get them the resources that they need on both ends. So I was just curious if we may be able to add somebody from that group onto that team, not just this forum.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Is there anyone else that's looking to speak? You can wait.
Yes, I would like to speak.
Okay.
This is Timothy Michael Contigeris at 901 Worthington Ridge, Berlin, Connecticut.
Go ahead, Timothy.
Can you hear me? Hi, how you doing? So, raising my children in Berlin has been very interesting. So right now I have a 7-year-old daughter, and she keeps asking me about playing basketball. Well, we don't have a program for her to play basketball. Constantly running into this problem about my kids want to do stuff and there's nothing available in this town. So what do? We go to other towns. We've had memberships at every single YMCA in the area to achieve what we need for our families. And you know what? We're missing out on a lot. The facts are, okay, and it's proven, you guys want to talk about facts, is that our enrollment for schools for kids has gone down in the last 10 years. Now, why is that? Ask yourself, why do you think that is? Me and my wife have actually talked about selling our property and going to another town. But we love this town and we would love to see something actually happen and not talk about it forever. We got to stop talking about it and be about it. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is that everyone on Zoom? Yep.
Okay. So
Barbara?
I just wanna mention one more thing. When I moved into town, there was 11,000 people. Now there's over 20,000 people. 7,000 of them are seniors. And we should know that this facility would be for all ages. And I think, and talk about facts, when we had our committee, our initial committee, we had Mr. Benignet at our meeting, and he stated, of course, he's from the Y, and he stated that the fact is that they don't do anything for seniors. Their focus is childcare. And I agree with that. Childcare is very important, but seniors are important too. And I'm an advocate for the seniors, and I just feel like they should not be overlooked. So there should be things for the seniors, and there should be, he said we could swim in the pool, but there's other things that we have in the senior center that are community of people. And if you came to the senior center, you would see that. And I think that it's very important not to lose sight of the fact that we have to do for all ages, not just for the seniors, but for the young people too, because they're gonna be the future of this town. And we need to do that for all of the town. Thank you.
the one thing I do, I'll just mention, Barbara, though, John Benigni, the director of Meriden, when he came to speak to our group, and by the way, there's a transcript of it in the report that we gave to council. And I'm sure that will be referred to at the town council meeting when he comes again, but what he does say is that he cannot be your senior center. He cannot be your community center. He toured our facilities. He cannot duplicate what we do right now. They do provide active, I'll say physical services. The Meriden Y, the New Britain Y has an indoor pool. There's water aerobics in the morning time for seniors in that pool. But Meriden has its own senior center, has its own community center, has its own Parks and Rec department. The same goes for New Britain, and the same goes for even Wallingford. Even though there's 2 Ys in town with pools, they also have an indoor pool at Sheehan, their high school. So, and they have a senior center and a community center. But, so just to be clear, the Y, he stated he does not duplicate and cannot do what your current senior center does. You would have a gym, and of course, the seniors are welcome. He also said if he had his choice at that point in time, without any discussions with the town, he wouldn't necessarily maybe put in a pool. That's what he said. But again, with discussions with the town, if that's something that wants to be considered, he would consider it. But of course, if that is done by the Y, just like in Plainville, New Britain, the seniors can use it as well as the rest of the community, as long as you're a member of the Y. And that's all to be worked out. The Y has its mission, and it's different than your center as we know it, and your community center. That's what was said.
Dorothy Jablonski, 15 Condon Street, Berlin. So just like the seniors are afraid of losing their community, so are the parents. We need a place for our children to go. The Y is not gonna run our Easter egg hunt, not gonna do the trunk or treat, it's not gonna do Meet the Santa. That is a recreation department. We are still gonna need a rec department. We're still gonna need that community center. The library needs more space. We need a team room. I know New Britain Wise just opened a teen room, but I was like, but we have a community center here. We don't have to go to New Britain High. We could utilize the area so much better, but we still need that pool. We still want those classes. The library's not gonna get the additional spaces. I feel like that the library could utilize that basement and the recreation department moves into a community center and we have community events there.
Thank you.
So it's not just the seniors not wanting to lose their community. The rest of us don't want we don't necessarily want the recreation, we want a community center.
That's right. And to that point, Brian Humes has also been engaged to look at alternatives, rather than building new community and senior center, look at the existing buildings that we might own as a town. Could we put some of those needs in, different buildings, one building, whatever? They'll be looking at that. I met with the Berlin Housing Authority and Brian, as well as with the library and Brian. And yes, there is a need. You need to understand what's going to be done with the existing space that we currently have. Is there a need by another organization? There is, but I'll let him speak to that, as part of his report. I will say this, as far as people going out of town to facilities, whether it be a Y or other town facilities. I have met several people as I've visited various places in this area that are from Berlin. We were just at Rocky Hill a couple of weeks back. I asked them at the senior center, that was during the day, but a lot of seniors coming in. I said, they happen to mention, oh, we even have people from Berlin that joined our senior center. And I said, really? I said, could you just take a look at your database and just let us know how many people are living in Berlin? 26 seniors go to Rocky Hill. Rocky Hill put in a new community center 2 years ago. At that time, it was 10.5 million. They did not include a pool because they have a pool at their high school. Someone spoke to that. And the numbers are extraordinary how they use it. Even though they can't use it during the school day, but they use it before and after, seniors included. And again, I know, New Britain, Plainville, why there's a lot of people going out of town, LA Fitness, for whatever reason. But it's hard for us to capture that data, to understand, to support without a good survey. And, again, with time and everything, that's something that just can't be done right now. But that being said, if there's anyone else that wants to speak, please. With that, we'll close audience of citizens then, since there's no more, and we can get on with our meeting. Again, you're all welcome to stay through our meeting, like at any meeting, I encourage you to follow the, from now to May 10th and beyond, and push commissions, Commission on Aging, Parks and Rec Commission, push Board of Finance, and push the town council as to what the community needs. You need to do that. You need to spread the word. And I will tell you, the council is very willing to move their meetings to a bigger gym area to accommodate a lot of people. And we could do that with the Board of Finance too, because they have to approve it just as well as the town council. So,
Folks show up, we'll be there.
yeah, no,
Do it at the
absolutely.
high school.
Right, right, you got it.
Yeah, we do it. Yeah, no problem.
And unfortunately,
Nobody showed up. I mean, we had them at the high school, nobody showed up, so show up.
Right.
So it's want you to show up.
Want it,
Yeah.
don't want it, you need to show up.
Yeah.
Unless they hear from you or see from you, it ain't going anywhere.
What are you about?
All right.
Yeah, great, thank you, thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks, thanks, it was good. I gotta go to the meeting.
Let's go, let's go. Let's go.
My last thing is about wrong to allow. Well, in the beginning, yeah.
I caught it like something.
Every time and I look
But
at
he's
my
looking
son,
at Barry.
and I I think he's got to change our names.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
Come on, meeting time, still at meeting.
Again, anybody, willing to stay on Zoom or? Go and see. Yeah.
Nice job.
All right.
Again, is he in training?
Approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion that we accept.
Approval of the minutes.
Yeah, okay, I'll make a motion, yep.
Second.
Good.
Okay, the only thing I just like to do my last name spelled correctly and then we can.
Thank you.
Maybe
Okay.
sometime this year.
All right,
All right, consent,
second, all set.
Yeah, good.
Approval of the minutes, we're good. We're fine.
consent agenda. I'm gonna ask that item A, not
Yes.
be, we'll discuss that, separately. So can I get a motion to accept items B, C, D, and E?
I'd like to make a motion to accept consent agenda items B, C, D, and E. I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda item A, which is Nutmeg Games. Recommending a fee not to exceed $36,880 be waived for their field usage fees for the 2024 season to be held July 19th through the August 4th. That's Police Field and Beretta Field. I'm gonna ask for a motion so that we can have discussion.
I'll make a motion to accept consent agenda item A.
I'll second it.
Second, Tony, okay, with that.
Want me
Steve,
to close the door?
Yeah.
Um,
That's all right.
it's
That's fine.
an open meeting, so leave it up.
okay,
I appreciate it.
Steve had to go. Is Steve leave?
yeah, Steve, on.
No, Steve's on, Steve is from
Yeah.
grounds.
Oh, look at that.
The whole time.
Just a me guy.
Up that knee as well.
He is doing very well. I just couldn't sit there for an hour and 45 minutes without having some ice and having
So
a bet.
Steve,
So,
can you give us some background on the Nutmeg Games, your latest?
yep. So after Don raised some questions after last meeting, we reached out to some surrounding towns who we think they've utilized over the last several years. And what we've came back with is most of the towns said that if Nutmeg Games approached them, they would charge them a full fee, just based on the fact of, yes, they are nonprofit, but the amount of tenants and everything that goes on from there. So I reached out to Don, had a quick conversation with him regarding what other towns had said, and we kind of bounced a few things back and forth off of each other.
Yeah, so Steve and I did talk, and I'm not sure if you heard what he said, but if all the research he did after the question I asked, everyone came back stating that they would charge them full price. And that they're not waiving the specific fees. Now, I've been on this commission for a long time, and I've always asked the question, what do we get in return? I'm in favor for nutmeg games. I'm not someone that's pulling back because I think the youth requires and has the abilities and should be able to participate. But what bothers me about the whole thing is the fact that it never seems to be able to return what we provide back. And in the community, what you just heard here, were people talking about the fact that we're struggling with finances, we're struggling for different things. Steve has a lot of expenses and so forth. You know, I propose that we charge something. My recommendation is that maybe you go back and charge them half of the usage fee and just let them know that, listen, you know, in the next coming years, we're not quite sure if we're gonna be able to provide them the free ride. Because at the end of the day, we're struggling like every other community. I recommend, my motion would be, if I'm able to make a motion, my motion would be that we go back, we accept the fact that they want to come to our town, but the fact of the matter is that we need to get something for it, and that we would charge them half of that 36.
And just so you know where that 3680 came from, that is the maximum amount of what they would use the fields for. They are requesting to use Scalise Field and Beretta Field. They list this many days, this time to this time, and we calculate what the maximum is. Once it gets closer to the event and they know their actual numbers, they may only need it 3 days this week instead of 5 days. So the number may change. So if you do a 50% number, that's perfect, because then what we could do is, once we know the actual usage, then we can charge them exactly half of it, versus just taking this number and cutting it in half, because this number may not be accurate once it gets closer to the event.
So
Jen,
Jen,
can I add one more thing onto that?
if we were to
Hang on.
record this.
Hang on, Steve.
Steve, go ahead, Dave. Speak louder.
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, just talk louder.
It's not.
Sorry.
I don't know why it's so bad tonight.
Is that better?
No, just talk loud. You're good.
Okay, so back in the day when the Nutmeg game started, probably back around 2014, we would take in somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000 a year for the amount of usage they had of our fields, including all the grounds workers. They had
That's good. Thank you,
Zipadelli,
Jen.
Stage 1, Stage 2, Sage Auxiliary, and also Scalise. Nowadays, they're only dipping in on Scalise a couple times during the week, possibly Beretta. So that leaves us with the inability of kind of taking something away from our home teams, or possibly somebody else wanting to rent one of our fields during that time.
Got it.
Thank you.
That was gonna be my question, Jen. So if they say they're gonna change the schedule, have you already booked off that time and like locked it out so no one else can take it?
Typically, every year, when we get the request and it's approved through the council and commission and council, I book that block. As it gets closer, I change it if we need to. However, if we ever get a request for that time period, I used to go to Patrick, now Rick is in charge, go to them, hey, how close are you to knowing if you actually need it this day because someone has requested it? And they've always been upfront, yeah.
Not losing out.
No.
So for the wording, if we were to change this wording, it would be to waive 50% of the usage fees. So that.
Field usage fees, yes.
Right, field usage fees. So it's.
However,
waive 50, so they pay.
currently you have a motion on the table. So
Yeah, no, I
before
know,
Don
I
makes
know.
that motion, you have to
So we're
put
gonna,
on that
we
one.
got the motion, we second it. Any more discussion?
So,
Oh, go ahead.
so I remember in the past, and I could be hazy, I thought that they would push some of the local establishments. Even on
Told
the
us
web,
that.
huh?
Well, they put it in a program, but you know, it's small and.
Go look at their website. We'll see who they're promoting.
They do, there are rooms, I guess they rent at Best Western. I know Chris Edge says he would, support providing a field for them, but again, I don't know how much.
Our name's not on there. Go look at the
Right.
website.
And there is a new director.
Says we get our names on t-shirts.
No, I never saw that.
Oh, really? I like that idea.
I saw one time at a gas station 10 years ago.
Greg, to speak to what you just said, back in the day, they used to run softball tournaments for 2 weekends in a row, and they would start games at 9, 11, 1, 3, 5, and 7, both Saturdays and Sundays for 2 full weekends.
Yeah.
Those numbers have now dipped down where they're not utilizing 4 fields at Sage Park.
Yeah. So what, somebody's best guess of what the attendance would be? Anybody know what it would be?
I don't know per.
There are teams.
I know there are
in Berlin.
thousands that go.
Yeah,
Participate.
for Berlin,
Yeah.
like,
But
and that's why I
teams
said,
from
I'm
Berlin
not opposed to
participate.
it.
Right.
I'm not opposed to it, I just think that we need to, as a commission, understand where our needs are as well, and, you know, we need to generate some revenues.
Right.
That's simple.
And I think it's also important if we can somehow push the pizza places and the local restaurants and stuff for these people to take advantage of, to hopefully generate some, huh?
We did
Yeah,
that
he-
years ago.
Yeah.
He worked, he worked with economic
And they did
development.
it in economic, Chris Edge, you know, it's all in Berlin, all that kind of stuff.
We did all that.
So he's gonna do that this year?
That's something he does with economic development.
Right.
So anyways.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded to waive,
To accept consensus A.
right, to accept A, right. So all in favor means you agree that we waive 3680, right, or thereabouts. All those opposed could allow another motion to come on. So all in favor of A? Hearing none, all opposed, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, can I have another motion on the floor to amend A to say not to exceed 50%?
Don's got it. Go ahead, Don.
I'll make the motion to modify consent agenda A to read not to exceed an amount of 50% versus the 3680.
Okay, second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you, Steve, for doing that research. Steve.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. It was actually a joint effort between Jen and I, so it's both
Okay,
of
well,
us.
thank you both.
Thank you.
That's right. Thank you.
okay, next is the Community Senior Center update. We've kind of provided the update. The only
I think an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah. It was a good turnout. The one, and so I asked you to reflect on that. We don't necessarily have to discuss it tonight, but reflect on what was said. And February 20th, we all should be at the town council to hear the why presentation.
Yep.
And you can speak before it too. With that, I did want to bring you up on one thing that, in our yesterday's meeting, I had brought up to our group, including Brian, that Donna Bove does not represent Donna Bove. Donna Bove represents our commissions. Barbara represents our commission. And since it's the commission's statement of need that we are revising, that it's important for me to make sure that Mike, Barbara's are in the loop, agree with it. If there's vast disagreement, we need to understand that, because when it's presented from the commissions. It throws a loop into maybe someone's plans when, you know, anything that we have is public information. In March, we're looking at having a combined community, yes, a combined community senior center, but also the commissions, the two commissions to be together. And we would present to you a draft of the report and explain things, you know, go through it with you in detail. What the issue now is, now that becomes a public document. And so for that reason, Jen has to go back to the town and ask, can we do this? But somehow you guys need to get into the loop because it's our document as a commission representative. You know, what are you gonna do? I also, Brian Humes, I asked him to be available whatever night's decided. So I know we have a meeting March 14th. The senior commission, the Commission on Aging is later in the month. They only meet every other month. But, you know, we'll be looking at a couple of dates and throw them out to you once we have them. And I ask that hopefully all of us can be available. It'll be a very important meeting to go. I don't know how quickly. His report's due May 10th. If it's March, maybe then we vote on it in April. You know, just throw that out.
March 14th,
Again,
March 14th?
that's our meeting.
That's our
night,
meeting.
And we're,
Commission on Aging is March 18th.
right, we're hoping that that will be the same night, okay? That's the only other update that I can think of. Okay. Debbie, Parks and Rec.
I've already presented my monthly report, so, but we're long on time here. If anyone has any specific questions, we have.
I just wanted to let you know something. So I'm doing some college fairs for where I work right now. And interesting enough, some of the towns are actually going to the college fairs. And as looking for lifeguards.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I was like, really, I was surprised that. So they're going to college fairs. I think Plainville was one of them. And it was, I want to say it was.
But yeah, I mean,
They're going to like, I know CCSU is next week. And
Right.
they're doing that. I know
Hi, Dan, thank you.
CCSU is- I just thought it was interesting that they're doing
well,
at
yeah,
college fairs.
they're all, well, we, last year I had developed a flyer and Tiff was kind enough to distribute it through Central and I got no bites at all.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's,
I was just, I was,
yeah, I know that they do. I know the great,
yeah, I didn't
goes a
know
lot,
that.
but
Yeah.
unfortunately, they have the staffing to
Understood.
do that, but they're constantly trying to improve.
I just thought
Yeah.
to share with you.
I'm
so.
wondering if a volunteer would go.
Well, they can't answer questions though, that's the
Yeah.
problem. I
Plus
mean,
the
I,
cost.
you know,
And it's representing,
Yeah.
representing the town, yeah.
Dollars that have a table.
yeah.
I mean, I know you just put it out.
Yeah.
Your sense for getting enough people for Percival, you feel,
I have no idea. I need like.
you lost
five or-
one supervisor?
No, I need like 5 staff.
Did you,
I lost a supervisor, but I lost
Oh, so-
staff.
so,
I lost a WSI, so now we're down for swim instructors. Yeah,
So I asked Deb before the meeting because this is number one, is we're currently accepting applications for the WSI lifeguard summer, blah, blah, blah. We were waiting to see if part-time staff budget would be cut before advertising for the director, assistant director. Why can't we get, I know it's you, why can't we get approval from the town? From
We
what?
we haven't heard back.
haven't heard back.
Kevin and the town manager
I know.
had the budget meeting, we haven't had an update. They're supposed to be setting up another meeting with the staff that was involved in that budget meeting.
I mean, that's silly.
Which I told Debbie I was gonna ask so that she brings this up to you. Currently, the discussion on budget that you would talk from Kevin to come.
Jen attends the meetings. I do not allowed to attend.
Currently, the town was looking to,
That's the way that the town is set up. She
Right.
attends the meetings and is a
Yeah.
spokesperson.
the town is looking to look at all, right now, the town increase for the budget after all staff has submitted it is extremely high. So they're looking to make cuts for the town manager's budget, which then gets submitted and presented to the Board of Finance. There was a meeting with certain department heads, that had asked for additional personnel, changing part-time personnel to full-time, and other increases in the budget that were looked at. One of the things that was flagged was the increase for minimum wage in the aquatics budget. But because of East Berlin not opening in 2024, that is being taken as full savings. That's no big deal. The other one was about $9,800 taken out of Debbie's part-time program budget, which is the budget that is used to fund the summer program. When questioned about it at the budget meeting, they said it was because in the past few years, we've only run what, they used the word consolidated our camps to Pistol Creek, which is not true, and that was corrected. That we don't run the camp at the community center anymore. We explained that the 9,800 was for minimum wage increases. It wasn't adding any extra additional personnel or anything like that. So after the meeting, no decisions were made at the meeting. Everything was discussed as what is this money? Why is it an increase? What does it do for your department? And then Arosh and Kevin were having a meeting this week to discuss everything that was discussed at that meeting to come up with some decisions on what would be cut. I sent an email to Arosh and Kevin asking for follow-up. They said, we haven't met yet. We're gonna meet. I said, okay, just please let us know that if you are cutting that $9,800 from the part-time program budget, is there also a directive from you coming to not advertise to try to get the community center camp back up and running? Because without those funds, we may not have enough funds to do it. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're still waiting to hear back on the results of that budget meeting.
So I have a recommendation, and I'm sure you guys are doing it tonight. It's more of a CYA. Document everything you guys just talked about, document the fact, because what we just heard, and the folks that are on the moms committees, that have been coming here and talking about X, Y, and Z, and then the meeting we had over there at Hubbard School, where everyone came and complained about the pool, and they were pointing fingers about X, Y, Z as well. I think we need to make sure that we as a commission and you as individual employees of the town have yourself covered, because honestly, you can't work, you can't do your jobs when everyone's handcuffing you. That's exactly what the town is doing.
But that's why I said I, without a directive, I won't
make any decisions at this point.
No, I understand.
And I did that, and that's exactly why, and I did the same thing with the pool, when they had talked, before the council had actually voted to close East Berlin this year, the finance director reached out to me and said, well, the town council discussed it, and since they're not opening, shouldn't you revise your budget to reduce those funds? I said, well, as far as I knew, there was no vote, and until I'm given a directive, I'm not changing my budget, so that's, I've already been doing that as much as possible. It's a little frustrating because wording that they're saying is that we're putting fewer programs and things, and yes, we haven't offered that site, but I have advertised every year trying to get staff to do it, so they just want me to not do that anymore. I want that from them.
Right.
There is definitely a
wants to go.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So it's a little frustrating, and I can't really hold off too long, which is why we did start to advertise, and we'll see where we go
I
from
can
here, but
understand the
yes.
frustration. I really can, but I just don't like to hear people say something about you all when it's not accurate, because you're doing the best you can. You're trying to do it, but everybody outside doesn't understand that, and therefore it comes down on you, and you look bad and we look bad.
Right.
And we appreciate that you recognize that and that.
Believe me, I've felt that the last year, that it's just like a target, so, yeah.
No, we have your back.
I know you.
Everybody's.
When I get little to now you are now, and it's a much different.
It's very good,
job.
yeah.
Much.
Yeah. It has not gotten easier, that's
Why every time?
5 years and 5 months.
Right, good job.
Okay, thanks.
So anyway, nothing else, that's.
Anything more for Debbie, any questions?
Oh, just quick, line dancing filled in a day. and a half.
Yes.
I saw that online too. I saw that online. Yeah, I saw it online.
Exciting.
I was even asked by friends, Donna, let's do it. I said, damn it, I gotta be available for excuse me, damn it, but I gotta be available for this town council meetings on Tuesdays for this thing, so.
That's cool.
But yeah, so that's great.
Yeah.
And I feel like, as an aside, the summer programs that she runs, they get sold out. People can't even get in.
Right, that's the thing, summer camp. is a need. So if there's anything the commission can do, speak or whatever.
Yeah, I plan to follow up with Kevin and Road,
let
I
us
just
know.
out of respect wanted to give them
Yeah,
time
you
to have
gotta
the meeting
go
and get
through
back
the
to us.
process.
Same thing with the meeting, where's the money?
Okay. All right, thank you. Steve,
You guys all saw a copy of my monthly report of exactly kind of like what we did. A couple of things to touch base on the latter part of it is, somebody reached out to me regarding the Newman's property, and I did some legwork and tried to get back to you guys on everything I know about that. So Newman's property kind of was contaminated soil that was donated to the town, and over the years, it kind of became an eyesore, especially where Jarvis Lane is. So after a couple of comments back and forth, we went in, we cleaned Jarvis Lane and the Newman's property over probably the last 10 days, removed a bunch of concrete pillars and anything else we possibly could remove to make it site a little more less blighted. The question came up about the bus. There is an agreement that was with New Britain Trans, probably goes back about 10 years, that lasted about 30 days for them to put a bus out there for advertisement because there was a shortage of buses and bus drivers. So that kind of leads it up to you guys of how you guys want to handle or how you want to move forward with the bus that is there. If you guys find it as a blighted property with that being parked there and don't want to use it for advertisement, you guys can raise the question to the town council of exactly what you guys would like to see happen with the bus.
So is that agreement with, if I heard you right, is long since gone, New Britain Transportation?
Yep, the agreement dates back quite a few years between New Britain Transportation and the town of Berlin. And Corporation Council drew up an agreement of exactly what the purpose of the bus was, how long the bus would stay there. Long story short, the bus was supposed to stay there 30 days, and I believe it's been there for about 3 years.
so I think Lucas brought up the question because in the plan of conservation.
Came up with that POCD meeting.
They were complaining.
People just asked questions, said, to blight, like Steve said, and I told them there was some problems with maybe cleaning it up if they had to, regarding, you said, mediation.
Environment, there's a lot of environmental.
So I told them, they were perfectly happy with the.
Steve, that place.
Not something we don't want.
Right, so it's more or less town council
Yeah. But even if we did anything with it, it would have to be immediate. My guess is being a car dealership and kind of oil all over the place. Sure, there's probably issues.
Yeah, there's in the northeast corridor, there's probably 7 or 8, 10 monitoring wells that they monitor on a monthly basis. But besides that, if you guys get a chance to drive by there, we removed all the concrete pillars, we removed all the overgrown shrub, all the illegal dumping. I think we picked up about 70 or 80 tires, probably 20 or 30 tons of asphalt, probably 40 tons of concrete, and we hauled that all out of there. So, and we probably pushed the wood line back right around 40 feet.
Wow. All right.
And we use it for overflow parking.
Yeah.
So. Okay, thank you on that.
Yep.
Update on the playground, Steve?
Yep. So we've had 2 playground companies come out and look at it. One was Creative Recreations and the other one was Landscape Structures. Both of them are redoing their designs, and every design that they sent to us, we sent to Karen, who I think is the spokesperson for the moms group. She was there tonight from Watch Hill. Yep, correctly. So we keep sending everything back and forth to her, getting her approval or what the moms group think. So hopefully probably in March or April, we'll have a better idea of where we're going towards that. The only problem that we're facing right now is trying to keep the 2% pitch for ADA compliancy of rearranging where the entrance would be.
Right.
Hey, Steve?
Yep.
So, just something to think about. So I was at the high school Sunday. I went for a walk around the track. It was great to see people out there using that field, right? Playing some flag football, father and son having a baseball catch, wives watching the kids play. It was really nice. But the people that were there did not make this mess. But I'm hoping that people are not gonna start saying there were a bunch of bottles and stuff, Gatorade bottles that were already on the field. I cleaned it up, but I hope they're not gonna start coming from the basketball field over here and start making a mess in the field.
Even on our last walkthrough of the field, I think I picked up about 5 bottles and put them in my car to recycle. I found a football, I found a
And
golf ball.
honestly, I don't know if it's part of the gym class or if it's people that are using the field, for their own, usage, if you will, but I'm not trying to complain about the people playing.
No, I know.
It wasn't them.
I know.
This stuff was already there.
So that's the next conversation that I'm going to touch base on is the litter at BHS. I'm going to try to set up a meeting in the next couple of weeks with the administration and whoever else wants to be invited with Berlin High School. On average, the amount of litter keeps growing at an astronomical rate, and we're probably sending 4 guys there 3 times a week for an hour. This mess, I can't even explain how bad it is, but something has to be done. And when it comes to springtime, it's going to affect us preparing fields for certain organizations. We had the idea, which I thought was a great idea, was to put a gate blocking off the teacher's parking lot from the student parking lot. When we dug into that even further, it became a union issue and a logistical issue because nobody is there on Saturdays and Sundays. Nobody is there from a custodial staff personnel during the summer. So that gate would open, and who would actually ask them to leave and feel comfortable going up to somebody who was parked in that area? So what I'm hoping to do is I'm hoping with the high school security and everybody to come up with a game plan of how we're going to combat this. We spent an hour there on Wednesday. We spent another hour there today. And what it is people going in there, partying, drinking, smashing bottles all over the place, just leaving it a complete mess. So Donnie, I agree with you. We walked the field today, and once again, as clean as they're trying to be, they're just not clean enough. So if the high school kids are out there making a mess, and how do we determine, is it going to be, we don't line Berlin Little League's athletic fields, Berlin Youth Soccer athletic fields, or do we not line a high school athletic field? But we've got to come up with some type of game plan moving forward of how it's going to go. Do we pay the blue collar union a 3.5-hour call out first thing in the morning to come in and clean up the mess? and turn that bill around and turn it on the Board of Education for 7 hours of overtime, 3 times a week, which is 21 hours of overtime. There has to be some type of plan implemented because we can't continue to waste that many resources every day.
Yeah, and what I'm worried about is at least that, you know, over at Sage, it's controlled from a standpoint of when people are planning to rent, you know, there's always no gun, people are not splitting
Right.
seats, even though they still do it a little bit.
Right,
But over on the new field, you have really no control.
right. It's not a locked facility.
And anyone can go do what they want. But again, I'm not complaining because it was really nice
Right.
to see people playing spaces out there. It was really.
They're there every day. I
That's
walk by
great.
with a dog. I mean, everybody using the field. I think it's cool. It's great. Steve, I have a thought. I don't know if it makes any sense. From a community service perspective, is there a way that you can get the high school kids involved either through one of their groups and have them earn, you know, community service work? But I would think if you get the kids involved to pick up after the kids that are doing it, there's gonna be some kind of feedback to say, well, Jesus Christ, you're over there doing this stuff, you know, why can't you do this stuff? I don't know if it's worth it, but you ought to get them involved if you can. Well, if he's gonna meet, you're gonna meet with administration, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
Yep. We're gonna start with John Schmaltz. Maybe we can get some ISS involved in it. Anybody we can get involved, I think is gonna be a great help. You know, $400 or $500 a week and $400 or $500 a day, 3 times a week, $1,500 in overtime is gonna rack up relatively quick.
Well, just for picking up trash.
Hey, Steve, if you're talking with John, when you're gonna be meeting with him, the only complaint that I had about this weekend was that everyone was parked on this, you know, by the tennis courts all the way back to the dumpster. You know, so if there was a fire truck wouldn't have been able to get by because they were on both sides.
Yep.
You know, versus parking in the lot like I did and walked. I mean, yeah, that's one thing, so he made.
So they're all parking there rather
Right,
than
right,
the spaces.
right.
There was plenty of space.
No, I know during the week, I know, I'm just saying that he, you know, I don't know, but I know because Dave sent an email about the coaches saying he's not allowed to park there.
It's pretty funny. I was there yesterday because both my kids are taking driver's ed now, and we picked up 6 or 8 pieces of trash inside the basketball courts and probably 200 pieces of litter in the high school parking lot with 20 broken nipper bottles. So we went from blaming we've always wanted to blame the kids playing basketball or tennis, and now the litter is actually in the park.
I guess 10 cents doesn't matter anymore for the little nip bottles, huh?
No.
I guess that rule didn't pass very well.
Nope. We got a phone call after a varsity basketball game that there was beer cans in the parking lot. We drove over there. We found a 12-pack of what are they called? White Claws, and 2 full 12-packs of IPA beer, not even open.
Great party.
Unfortunately, they were empty though, huh?
No, they were full.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Good job, Steve, thank you.
Steve, thank you. By the way, thank you for working with the moms for Berlin. I think that's great. And hopefully they give that kind of feedback.
Yeah,
Because that, I mean, should
they will,
Karen-
she's very articulate. Hopefully it goes well.
Karen is really good. Like, we sent her some ideas, and she's like, the mom's really like a roller slide. It's $9,000 more. The mom's like a roller slide over this slide. They like this over that. The color scheme. So it's been a very good back and forth dialogue conversation.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we adjourn. meeting.
No, one more thing. All right, so I need a motion to add to the agenda, election of officers.
So we did this in January and we weren't supposed to do it till February because Donna, Lucas and Greg all got reappointed at the January council meeting.
Oh.
So for some reason, it slipped my mind. I put it in
I
January.
knew that, but I didn't want to
Here.
invite you.
Next time, say, I just told
I'll
you.
make a motion to put on the agenda the election of the 2024.
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That we.
Okay, you make a motion.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to elect Donna Bombay as chairperson of Parks and
Second.
Rec, and add Donnie Delaquilla as vice chair.
Good. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now I'll do it.
Great,
I'll make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
great. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for the,